Hey, we're gonna give a few little tips. I got my buddy Irish Dave here, or Lucky Charm we call him. We're gonna put the head back on our gas. Show our gas here. We got the head ported by Jamie at Twisted. They poured it, deck it, cut the seats so they got a different angle. There's some voodoo magic to make a little better power. So when we did all that, it threw off our valve clearance. So Hot Cams has a cool little kit here. Got some notes here, and now we're gonna loosen this. Now he torqued it to 14 Newton meters.
14 Newton meters.
And that'll affect how much is down. So you wanna make sure you go off your specs in your book. And what was the site you went to? KTM?
KTM.com manuals has all, like, you can go to each model. We didn't go on the gas one, but we did the equivalent for KTM. Yeah. We found all our specs, so Spencer looked it up for us. So this is your intake clearance. We're working in inches right now. It's just a little easier with feeler gauges because it goes 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are your specs. So on the intake, we are 0.4. So it's right in the middle, but we'd like to make it a small bit looser. So we're going to actually remove the 2 shims here and do 1 shim size smaller. So we'll take out our shims, measure what it is, and then grab which one. Everyone's labeled. We'll measure them again just to make sure they're not in the wrong place. Same with the exhaust. So you have 0.4 and then 0.3. So that's actually out of spec. It's too tight. So we're going to remove the shims and then put in a smaller shim, and then we'll get the clearance. We're aiming to get it halfway between here. That's what we're always looking for. So everything's torqued down right now. We put the valves in. The head was stripped down, so put the valves in, put the cams in, torqued it down, and then we measured. So we're not out of spec. This is actually okay, but we'll make it a little looser, and this one's out of spec. So we're going to remove it, measure what size shims we have, we'll place them in the right spot, and then we'll go get 1 size smaller, put them in, torque it down, feeler gauge again, and we should be number 1 ready to go.
Okay.
So you want to...
And then, yeah, so let's go ahead and get started, David. And then after that, we'll show David putting it on to the motor as well.
I can hold a little bit too. Maybe not, hold on. There we go.
And this all can be done while the head is on the bike. We just have it removed. You can do it when it's on the bike. So then, you know, you'll have Spencer holding it for you.
This.
Okay, so then pop the cam caps off. Okay, so then if you zoom in here, your shims are going to be right under here. Little finger followers, flip them up, and get a magnet, pull each one out. So this is what we got. We'll measure them, and then we know which side they're going back in. It's always good not to mix them up, so just kind of make notes as you go. We'll measure these, see what they're at, and then we'll go for 1 size smaller.
And I like to measure. You can use calipers to get you close, or if you're used to using a micrometer, you can. And so these, my glasses are, my eyes are terrible now. So these are right under 75, right under 100,000. So we're at 83. I gotta do some math here. Gosh, this is terrible. Yeah. Okay, so right here would be.
The normal calipers has an inch and metric one,
Doesn't
so
it?
you just press the button, make life easier.
Yeah. Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, Jay's getting fancy here. Let's
he
do it.
was all like mechanic, like all this old
machinist
days.
We'd have to get the calculator out.
Machinist, yeah.
So show like most people will have one, then they can do inches.
Look at that.
86. I was off a bit. Okay, so 86.
Do it in metric. Switch it to metric.
Oh, we're not. Oh, because they're in here.
Yeah.
Make sure it's zeroed out. So 2.9, and we want to be a little bit smaller. So this 220 is going to be the same thing. So let's just grab this one and make sure. So this one's 211. That's a big difference, David. Yeah, that one in there is not the right one. That one I grabbed. So we want to go to here.
There we go.
Now if I go to inches, that's too big of a difference. Sometimes you run into that, huh, David?
Yeah, yeah. All right, so Jay figured out all shim sizes. So we're gonna put the shims back in here.
Sometimes it works out that we didn't have the right, it was too big of a gap. So we're gonna leave these intakes at 4. It was too big of a gap to the next size.
So on the exhaust, we've gone like a size smaller. So then we're gonna put the cams back in, put the bridge on, torque it down, and just double check that we're doing good. Yeah. So. Then you can put a little like oil along the cams as you're assembling. We're taking these back out, they're already oiled, but we'll put the cam cap on and then go from there. And here's a good tip on this. So this is actually what vents to the valve cover. So as you can see here, it has to sit in. A lot of people make a mistake, put it off to the side, and it gets crushed as you put the cam in. So just make sure that's in there nice. I've seen a lot of them crushed, yeah.
Right here.
We end up with the same. We're going to stick with this clearance on the intakes. Exhaust we've changed, so you have to make sure that it's on the right timing marks. So pretty much top dead center. This one, top dead center, top dead center. So then we're going to remeasure and see what we're at.
How cool is this stuff? This is why we have David over here. He does this way more often than we do.
So we were 0.4, 0.3, so we're hoping to get 0.5 in here and see if it fits in nice. Yep, so that goes in good. That one goes in good too. So now we're kind of in the middle again of what we're aiming for on the exhaust. So this head is all shimmed, ready to go. If you already had it on your bike, you're actually good. You know, you're torqued, you're on. We have to remove them to install the head, but that's how it's done.
All right, so now we're gonna get the new head gasket on. We got a new head gasket. We're gonna stick with stock height head gasket because Jamie cut the head for us on this, so we don't want to play around too much. So we're gonna be safe. That's what he recommended for this setup right now. So we're gonna get that on and get the head on.
All right, there we go. KTM head gasket. All right, head gasket install. Can go either way, so just check and see. It'll only fit one way, but when you put it on, you gotta make sure it's all going to line up. So then you see that's not working. It's wrong. So flip it around. Pretty straightforward. Boom, everything fits. Dowels, everything. All our head. Make sure like all your surfaces clean. This one was machined, so like it's a perfect surface, but if you're removing your head, maybe just clean it all off, get the carbon off. Should really surface it, but if you're doing it at home, clean it off is the most important thing. So all your shims are in here, so be careful not to go upside down, drop it, and they'll fall down in there. So just make sure everything is still in there. Don't turn it upside down. And then there's a little jiggling, wiggling. Was a lot easier with the radiators off.
Yeah.
So let me get over this side.
Sorry.
Try a little more. Yeah. Yeah, the fan and everything.
Yeah.
I thought it was all supposed to strip down.
I'm testing your skill, David.
So you do a little wiggle jiggle, and then over this side you can see, look, it's kind of hard, so you have to raise it up. Some wiring in the way, some toggle cables, so pull them out of the way, and then get that up and over. Okay, then we're starting to slip down and line up at the studs. Okay.
Bro.
Make sure that your two engine dowels are on there. We had them on in place. Make sure they're still there as you go. And then you're going to come over, grab your, it's going to be 4 washers. You got these guys here, 4 nuts. You can use some assembly lube or oil. I like to use just a little oil on. You'll put it in there on the face of the washer, and just helps with torque and getting the correct torque. It's not binding up. It's got some lube on her. So just a little dab here, just on the face and the threads.
Explain for the people at home why it's good for having oil on these.
So the oil will help with when you're torquing. It doesn't bind up, and it actually lets it go to the correct torque. Yeah. So in the manual, it recommends to oil the threads and then the face of the bolt.
Okay.
So these ones here, easy, slip them on. The ones on the other side, kind of a little more fiddly. You may need a magnet to drop them down. But the biggest thing is just don't drop them down where the timing chain is, or you're going to be taking off the clutch cover.
Go straight down.
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna have fun if you do that. So
Going fishing.
yeah. Okay, so that one, then we can just get
Go the other
one
side.
down, and then this one here, like I say, it's zoom in there. You're trying to get them in there, so it's very possible to drop them. So I'm gonna use a magnet
Yep.
to guide it down. Look, so you go boom. Get it down there. Same with the nut, even the nut can fall down there, no problem. So just get it on there, get it started, and then we can get a socket to start it. So if you do that once, you'll learn your lesson and never ever do it again. Yeah.
You'll get along.
Kind of like the circlip trick when you put a rag in there so you don't drop it in the crank.
Yep.
If you've ever done it, you'll never do it again.
There we go.
Okay. All right. So 14.
Right here.
Spencer's my tool assistant
Yeah.
here.
And 14 is going to be one of these.
Yep.
That's 12.
That guy.
There we go.
And then I need a torque wrench, so we're going to do 10 Newton meters, then 30 Newton meters, and then 50 is the final stage. So you do it in 3 different stages.
And you hit all 4
Yes.
in each stage.
Yeah. We need like you got a shorter, there we go.
There you go. Just, yeah, you got 2. So what's the first one again?
10 Newton meters, yeah.
10 Newton meters.
It may look like a red Honda, but
You're getting confused. You're seeing the color.
we're getting Honda-sized tools.
Yep.
Yeah. What does Rhino Hughes call these? Sunburned KTMs.
Sunburnt KTMs.
Okay. You want to torque it and I'll video you?
Yeah, you can video me if you...
Look at Spencer's skills. I'll go on the video for a minute. So he's going to do a crisscross pattern. So 10 Newton meters.
10 Newton meters.
Yep.
A lot of people ask where we get this torque wrench. You go to snapon.com and then they have all their torque wrenches, and people freak out when I tell them this one's like over $700 or something. But there's you know, less expensive torque wrenches out there that you can get, and it'll work just fine, don't worry. And then go back to this side right here, okay?
Look at this. We got Spencer on the tools.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why it's taking longer.
Even though Spencer said it takes longer, guys, just take your time and do step by step, and don't make a mistake. That's the biggest thing. Don't drop anything in. Don't over tighten. You know, look up like the torque specs of the engine in your manual. Okay, so then you're going to do 30 Newton meters.
13.
No, 30.
Oh, 30.
Yep.
That sounded. What was that? That was 30.
Yeah.
Say it like 30, like you're American. 30.
I'm not though.
You know, you are. You are now?
I'm a dually.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a dually.
I was trying to figure out, you've been here like what, 12 years?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That's a long time. You've been letting people in right now. So hopefully David gets to revisit Or maybe he'll just be American forever.
I think I'll wait till summer. Christmas is too cold.
That's true. It like rains every day.
Yeah. Spencer's been to the
I have.
to the homeland. Yeah.
I have. Well, I went to Dublin. Does that count?
Yeah.
Okay, it
Yeah.
does, right?
Lots of Dublin people though.
I went to Blarney's Castle as well. That was cool.
County Cork, raced there many times.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
used to have a track right down there.
It's pretty cool. I could see riding out there. That'd be really awesome.
So it's not just boring working on KTMs. You're getting the full Irish history here
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Spencer. Yeah.
We're gonna talk about the Great Potato Famine. Very sad time.
Okay, 50 next, and then that's your final torque stage. So
That sounded like
Spencer's on the tools.
That sounded like 50.
yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Let me check. Yep.
50 newton meters.
There you go.
Be very careful. You don't want to mess up your nut. Obviously, have a good socket on. And make sure it's seated. How long, when like let's say I go and buy a KTM or a gas gas recipe, how long should I go before I check these, David?
To check what? The valves?
Yeah.
It's good to do them every 30, 40 hours. Just keep an eye on them. See how you're doing. And the big thing is air filters. Keep your air filters clean, and then
Yes.
you won't have to do much adjustment. This one wasn't out of spec, so we got the valve seats cut for, I think it's a 5-angle valve cut, so that's why the seats were different, so we had to change the shim slightly. All right, so Spencer learned how to do a tire change with Jay. Now he's learning how to do top end with Doc MX.
Next, you got to teach me how to like rebuild an engine. So then,
Yeah,
I can just
we'll get
replace
you down
you.
there for a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
then I can build engines over here. Okay.
All right, so then Spencer's got all the main ones torqued. Over here, you've got a little 8mm nut, so we're gonna get that washer, and then we'll do the same trick. We'll put a little oil on it as well. Yeah. So we got a little
Back
on
on camera.
We got a little on the table. It's good enough. We'll wipe it in there. Yeah. So yeah, this guy here.
And what does this do exactly? This little outside nut, is it just like a safety? Or is
Pretty much, yeah. But it doesn't do a whole lot when you got the 4 other bolts. You know.
Yeah, so is it just kind of like
Yeah.
a little bit extra?
With this, like everything on the engine, you should torque it, but it's kind of hard to get in it. So you're just going to do it by hand. You can feel. Don't go crazy. I've seen people, because it's actually down into the crankcase, pull it out, pull the threads out. So you just want to just go like a normal bolt. You know, feel it, tighten it, boom, done.
Good.
So next, what we're going to do is grab a magnet. Timing chain is down here. So we're going to pull the timing chain out. Now when we removed the cylinder, if you look down here, Spencer, we have the washer out of here, so the crank is locked, so the piston's top dead center. So I cannot even turn the engine right now. It's locked in the top dead center position. So what I'm going to do is put some assembly lube all in here on your cams, and then we'll show you how to do the timing, and then we'll torque that down again. Yeah. Oh yeah, some good assembly lube for initial startup. Make sure it's not dry. Put a little on your rocker arms. This stuff's your friend when you start up a new engine, you know, keeps everything lubed.
Ready to go.
Okay, so you have 2 different cams.
Tell me how I tell them the difference
Yes,
if I
that's
get them
exactly what I was
mixed up.
going to do. So this one here on a 350 has a decomp. So the exhaust always has a decomp. So when this gets up to speed, the weight will come out, and then this doesn't touch the lobe. Whereas when it's at slow, it'll open and decomp. It'll open one valve to let the compression out. Another good way of finding out if it's the intake cam. Intake cam has little vents in here, and this guy here, which goes into the valve cover. So if you look at this, that'll show like this is the intake one and this is the exhaust. So you can always look, there's part numbers too, but just looking, you know, if you mix stuff up, this is the good way. This will be the intake, this will be the exhaust. So okay, so grab your timing chain again over this side, Spencer. Come over here and I'll show you what's going on, because we're going to do timing. So you're going to pop your cam in. What you're going to do is pull on this side. You're going to put all the tension on this side because the tensioner is actually over here. So we want the slack here and then the tension will go. So we're going to rotate it, little red mark. Sometimes the paint wears off, but it's got a black little scribe on the tooth. So the paint can wear off sometimes with heat. So what you're going to do is rotate it and then make sure that the little guy over here is in. So you can see that's timed right now. So the two lobes, or the two lines, are going to face each other, and that's the timing on a KTM. So that's something you're going to have to find out. A lot of different models, like for these, yeah, they're going to be this way, but if you're doing different models, they're going to have different cam timing. Yep. So always try to find out when you take it apart. Take a photo so you know where it is, you know it's at top dead center. So this one's timed. Now we're going to do our exhaust. Okay, so you can see, wrong. So I'm a tooth off. So what I gotta do is just slip the chain up and then rotate the cam up a spot, drop it back down. Now you can see we're level, yeah. And then all the slack is over here. I'm putting my finger in where the tensioner goes. So you can see like this, that's gonna take it up and then we're level. So what we're gonna do is put on our cam bridge right now and torque it. So I like to put a little oil as well on here just to lubricate as we're going on, get the right torque spec. So just a little dab of oil and then we can assemble it. On this, it's got little dowels too, so make sure that you're all there. You see there's one here, one here, one here, one here. So just make sure that that's all on there. And then look in here, like if it's a used bike, make sure you have no scoring or anything, that everything feels nice, smooth. We're gonna put oil on the cam so it's lubricated when it starts up. So just make sure there's no scoring in here, otherwise your head, this is actually matched to the head, so if that's damaged, you're looking at a head. So that's usually when you run out of oil, you know, that happens. It gets burned up inside, the aluminum will gall up. So just watch out for that when you're doing the top end. And then you have little chain guide up top, so make sure that's there too. Okay. I think we're gonna make Spencer get on the tools again. All video, Spencer can do the torque.
Yep.
So 14 Newton meters. And then when you torque them all down, it's always good to catch the cam, and I'll show you on the other side. We're going to move it to make sure it didn't bind up for some reason. If there was any debris or like galling up on the cam cap, the cam won't move with a torque, even with the right valve clearance. So you're going to check once everything's torqued. Okay, so we're almost done with all the bolts torqued down. So everything's good, Spencer?
Yep.
So what you're gonna do is you're gonna get your cam, and we're gonna make sure it's still rocking, moving free, so that's all good. Exhaust one's the same. So if you have an issue, like you feel that this is tight and not moving, maybe your valve clearance is not enough, you know, that it's touching the rocker arm, or there's some debris in where you've torqued it down or you've over torqued it, but this is perfect. This is how it should be. So then we're gonna put all the tension over this side and we're gonna work the tensioner next. So we'll show you how to do that on the bench, yeah. This is your hydraulic timing chain tensioner. Got a little O-ring on here, we can leave it on, just make sure it's not torn. So how this works, this is actually the crank lock washer. This is a real good indication. So what you're gonna do is put this here beside it. You're gonna push on the cam, or on the tensioner. It's gonna go all the way down. You see all the oil coming out? So now it's all the way down, and then the height of that is where you need to go. So you'll put that in your bench, you'll get the height of this, so this means it's in the position ready to go in. You'll collapse it, and then it will expand. So I'll show you how it works in the bike. So this is how we'll put it in. But then when I put it in the bike, I'm gonna click on it, boom, and it goes all the way up full extension. But the full extension will only go as much as it'll take out the timing chain slack. So it won't go this far, it'll probably go halfway and then take up the tension of the chain. So to set it again, put this guy down here. You don't have to use this, but it's actually a good way of doing it. So then we're set. So that's ready to go in the bike. Yeah. This is the housing for the tensioner. You have a little Allen that you take off. So you're gonna put it on. The flat surface will go in against the time and chain guide. This side will face out. So you're gonna put it in the bike, tighten it up, and then we're gonna get a tool that we push in here, and that'll actually push it in, and then it will spring and release. So we'll put it on the bike and do that. Remember, this will face out, that's facing in. And then it's a 24 that holds it on. A little tricky with the frame here, but it goes on. So then you gotta put that on, make sure you got your copper washer, that'll seal the oil from coming out.
24, right?
24, yeah. So this should be torqued as well. It's too hard to get in. All this stuff, like when it's in an engine stand, you can torque everything nice, but with this, it's just aluminum, so don't go crazy. Feel it like that, boom, tight. So then next, you're gonna video in here, Spencer.
Yeah.
We're gonna get like something that fits in here, usually like an Allen works, and then you push in on it. See, like the chain is loose right now? The chain is loose, so we're gonna get something to push in, and then it will take up this slack. Yeah. Go in here, so make sure it's like not gonna push in. There's a little ball check valve in there. Make sure it's big enough to not damage the little check ball. Okay, so you get it lined up, and then you're gonna watch. I don't know if you want to, where you want to come over here.
I got this right here.
So I'm going to push in, you'll hear the click, and then boom, this is going to get tight. So, let go for PJ. And that's it. Now the tension is on. So what we did is we closed that last clip, and then it opened up, and then the tension is on. So now the cams are all solid. We're good.
Okay.
So next up, we're going to do valve cover. So over here, there's a little insert that. Oh yeah, so you put this guy back on as well. That's a little cover where we put on the Allen. Yeah. Hard enough to get in there as well. It's gonna be an O-ring on it, make sure that's not torn. Just aluminum, so a little snug up, you know, you don't need to go crazy on it, so boom, tight. So then on the valve cover, you have this insert that goes down into the spark plug hole. There's also a seal here. So just put a tiny bit of lube around here as you're putting it on, because this is where the two O-rings are. If they were dry, they could roll and rip. So you're just gonna slide this in, and then you'll have your, yeah. That's good. Just a little lube around there so it goes in nice. And then straighten it up, and then all the way down, yeah. Then you have your part of the valve cover gasket right on here. Okay, so then you need a little contact cleaner.
Right there, yeah.
Over here, Spencer. So some people use gasket maker all the way around. I've worked on KTMs a long time, and the main thing I do is just these little half moon guys, so you got to clean them out.
I see them leak is right there.
Yeah, a KTM will cry. It'll have little teardrops of oil sometimes.
That's because
So-
it's making so much power. It's crying.
Yeah, it's crying. It's been ridden so hard. So I only mainly just do along here. People do it all the way around. If you decide to do that, you know, you don't need to do it, but if you decide to do it, please don't overdo it. I've taken apart so many bikes with it oozing down in there and blocking oil jets. So just remember, more is not better. This is just a light wiping of it. So what we'll do is we're going to put it actually onto the valve cover now that this is all clean. So you want to make sure there's no oil, so it will bond to here. So we're going to get the valve cover, clean that off also. It's already pretty clean. Okay, yeah. So yeah, just pretty much in these little half circles. A little smearing of it, don't go too crazy. You can do like a little bit each side, but that's all you need, because this is the main part that will just weep a little when it gets hot. And when you have this on it, it's just a normal like silicone RTV. Have it at any parts store. Yeah. Okay, so that's that all ready. So this is prepped, ready to go on. What we're going to do first is we're going to take out the timing plug, not the timing plug, the crank lock, and we're going to rotate the engine over. Just rotate it over, and then we can do a valve check clearance again if you want, and then the valve plug we already have off. We just put it on because we're moving around the bike until we got the head back, so this plug would already be off. There's going to be an O-ring on here too. Make sure that's all good. and then we can rotate the engine over, 14 T-handle. So what we're going to do, if you go over this side, Spencer,
Yeah.
we'll do 2 revolutions, make sure everything's all good, and turn it over nice. You can tell me, I'm just going to turn, and you tell me when we're getting back into time.
Okay. That was 1.
Okay. You hear that little click? That's actually your decomp that I was talking about earlier on the exhaust cam. There's your little click. So we should be coming back up on it right now, close enough.
Pretty close. You're coming there. Bit more. Bit more. Tiny bit closer.
Okay, so now the cams are timed.
Oh yeah, they're almost there.
Okay, so you're gonna look at your cams, then you're gonna come back down here with your light. Now the bolt is out, you're gonna look and make sure you can see the little cutaway in the crank. It's hard to see in there.
Yep, I see it.
Okay, so now that means we've done the engine over twice, 2 revolutions, nothing's bound up, you know, so we're timed good. So now we can actually check the valve clearance again now that the springs have opened and closed. Put the crank lock back in. Don't forget you have your washer. If you don't put your washer on, it'll stop it from turning over. So this keeps it away from the crank, this washer. So yeah, we don't even need a video. You guys know how to do it. We showed you a few minutes ago how to do the valve clearance. So we're just going to do it real quick and then we'll get back to putting the valve cover on. Okay, so this guy will be sitting on here. Don't knock it off as you're going in. You don't want to get chewed up in the cam. And then we did our RTV along here. Just be careful not to knock off that little guy. Boom, and then we'll put on the bolts. The bolts are, so we have here, and then we have these little washers. Okay, and then when you're torquing these, you're gonna have to look because a lot of models are different torque specs. So check your manual, get them torqued down, and pretty much that's it. The rest of it's going to be putting back on your throttle body, your exhaust, your water, your temp sensor, and then start up your bike. When you start it first, it's actually going to be a little loud because the tensioner has no oil in it because we've pretty much, you know, pushed it out as we were setting it. So you're going to hear it. It's going to be like, oh God, do I shut it off? Did I do something wrong? Let it run for 3-4 seconds, and then the oil gets in there and it quietens down. Another thing you can do also is hold the kill button, crank it over, and that will actually build oil pressure to it without it starting, and then that helps with that noise a little bit. I know a lot of people are like, man, I started my bike and the first time it sounded like it was going to break, but it's just oil filling the tensioner. So that's pretty much a top end on a KTM 350. 250 should be really similar as well.
Okay.
Thanks, David.
Let's get this rest of this stuff bolted on.
A little tricky to get in here, but a deep 14 will work. And then when you're putting the plug in, don't just drop it down in case you close the tip. Like, just put your finger and drop it all the way down, like lightly. If it smashes the tip, then you're going to have some bad spark issues. Yeah. Okay, so next little tip on the spark plug boot, because it's such a weird angle, you're going to go in at this angle. And I've seen like, because it's sharp on the inside, when you put it in the weird angle, it pushes over and it puts a cut in here, then it will arc. So it's always good to spray a little contact so it slips in nice. And just don't force anything, put it in like kind of straight and then down and feel it click home, and then you're good.
There we go.
Well, you did engine mounts too, so you just need coolant and radiators.
Yeah.
And fuel line's messed up. I'll show that. So we're tightening up our inspection plug on that side, and then over here, the gas don't come with an hour meter. So we ran an hour meter right here, ran it up, and we got our works connection hour meter set up. You got to have an hour meter on your bike to track your oil changes and maintenance. Okay, that's sounding good. David did a good job, got Spencer's help. We all helped out. We had a few little hiccups, but we got everything back on here. David got this head on, really appreciate the help. That's Doc MX Racing. If you're in SoCal and need some work done to your bike, he's down in Marietta, California. We got our FMF slip-on on here now. Got our Race Tech suspension with our KYB conversion we're gonna test. But hopefully that helps you out with some tips on putting a head on your KTM Gas Husky. Give you some ideas, not every step, but it should help you out a lot. So hopefully that helps you out, and we'll check you out later, track or trail. See ya.